This week in Trad Archery 101, we're going to talk about something really small and simple that changed archery. Hey everybody, welcome to Trad Archery 101. The plunger. What does that have to do with trad archery, Greg? Not a lot, but it's a really cool story, and it is part of trad archery because you can use them on a lot of wood bows. But when you find out what it was from behind, it's pretty cool. Now, what is the plunger and what is it used for? That's what we're going to talk about because there's a lot of misconceptions by people out there. But before I go any further, we need to go back and look at this thing called the Archer's Paradox. Paradox. This is quite possibly the most misunderstood thing in archery. And if you want to get in a fight in archery, talk about two things. Instinctive aiming, Archer's Paradox. All right. The first thing you know is that the Archer's Paradox only occurs in bows not cut to or past center. That's a biggie. So compound bows and bare bows, they don't have Archer's Paradox. Now what people say, oh, yes it does. They mistakenly believe the arrow flexing is the Archer's Paradox. And unfortunately, that's not it. That is the explanation for why the paradox occurs, but it's not the paradox itself. Now, so when you have a bow that's not cut to center and you nock an arrow, right, you'll notice that that arrow is going to be slightly offline. Why? Because look at my fantastic little chart here. Got a block. That block represents your riser. I'm going to put a string down the middle. That's your string. It's centered on the riser. Now we're going to cut out a sight window. Now if you notice in the sight window, the string is still in line with the riser. That is a bow not cut to center. So that string, if it was to try to go all the way through the bow, it wouldn't. It would hit the riser and stop. Same thing for your arrow. If you put your arrow on there, it can't be in the center. It's physically impossible. Why? The riser's in the way, so it cants off at a slight angle. So there is the Archer's Paradox. And what that little angle is when you're looking at it, it looks like if my arrow was to travel in the direction it's pointing, it will not hit the target, but it does. And that's why they call it the Archer's Paradox, right? So the other thing is take the same block. There's our string. This time we're going to cut out the sight window past center. Now, if the string could, it would go through there. If you put an arrow on it, that arrow is now pointing in the direction of travel. And that is why there is no Archer's Paradox on bows cut to or past center. Pretty simple, right? All right. So, but as we all know, if that arrow is pointing off at an angle, it still hits the target. So why does this happen? Well, this phenomenon was first described by Horace Ford in his 1859 text, Archery, Its Theory and Practice. So people knew something was going on. They just didn't know what. Now the term Archer's Paradox was coined by E.J. Rentroff in 1913. Right? And later, Clarence Hickman filmed this, and that with high-speed photography, and that's when they knew exactly what was going on. They had an idea, they weren't sure, but the high-speed photography proved it. And what happens is when you let go of an arrow, it's going to flex, right? It's going to flex outward and then inward, back and forth on a horizontal plane. Now, how much it flexes depends on the material used and how stiff or soft it is, right? And that's where these terms later came. Once they found out what was going on, these terms, stiff, soft, strong, weak, soft, and all that came about to describe the things. And then later, they made spines to record how much things bend so you could better put it to your arrow. Now, here's where it gets really stupid. Wood, aluminum, and carbon all use different rating methods, and within carbon itself, there's multiple rating methods. So what one rating for wood is not the same as aluminum, which is not the same for carbon. All right? Now stay with me. I know I'm babbling, but this will all come together here soon. Now, arrows can be made or could be in one of three states. They can be stiff, they can be weak, or they can be tuned, right? Now, a stiff arrow is an arrow that doesn't flex enough to get around the riser. So when an arrow is too stiff, it's going to normally fly away from the cutout of the arrow, of the bow, right? That's a stiff arrow. It doesn't flex enough to go around and hit the target. It does actually what Archer's Paradox does, travels in the direction. So if you're a right-handed archer, it's going to fly that way. Left-handed archers, they'll fly that way. Pretty simple, right? Now, soft or weak is an arrow that flexes too much. And an arrow that flexes too much is going to fly across your bow. Now, problems with a too soft arrow is it can hit your riser, the back end, the feathers make contact, and that's going to affect how your arrow will flight. The final one is a tune state, and that's an arrow that flexes just enough so that it'll go around the riser without making contact and strike where you're looking. All right, that's the 3 states. And then the next thing happens. And what's that next thing? Is no matter how well tuned you have it, there's always going to be interference. The feathers are going to touch something. It's going to get pushed. It's going to put an unintended influence on your arrow. Now, normally this isn't important, but for target archery, it's huge. And this became a real problem because, 1 point, 2 points could decide what is a winning and losing score. So they worked on it. People were trying to figure this thing out. And in the day before the plungers, if you needed to fix your arrow's not hitting where you want, you had very few choices, none of which you could do while shooting. Right? Most people changed it was you change the point weight to make it softer. And then if you want to make it stiffer, well, you lower the point weight, or you cut the back of the arrow, you make the arrow shorter. Now, these are really hard to do, and probably not even allowed in competition while you're doing it. And you can't do that on the line. Right? So there was the problem people were having. No matter how well tuned, every so often there's inconsequential contact made affecting their arrows. Then, this part of the story, enter a man named Norman Pint. In the mid-1960s, he was a competitive archer, and he knew this problem, and it was affecting him. And he came up with a solution, and he called it the Burger button. Now, this is named after his friend, Victor Berger. Now, other people called it the panic button and a few other things, but down the road, it became known as the plunger, and this thing was a game changer. So why is this little device a game changer? Real simple. If you're out there shooting, you can now make adjustments on the fly, on the line, without taking your equipment apart. Right? This little baby here can allow you to adjust for wind and many other things, and it allows you to do so without affecting your aim. That was huge. You could now aim at the same spot and make adjustments. You're hitting to the left or right, little adjustments with this baby will bring your arrows right over so you're back on target. That, boys and girls, changed everything in target archery. All right? That's why every single Olympic archer and barebow person out there most likely has one of these. And the beauty of it is its simplicity, right? All this is basically, I'll show you right here, a tube with a spring in it and a little contact part. That's the part that touches your arrows. There's a spring, right? It goes right in this tube. Slide it in here, and you screw that on. That's pretty much it. Now, how it works is pretty simple. This first ring is what you use to set the depth, how much this will stick out of your riser. By turning this forward or backwards, it changes that. All right, as you can see, this would make it go out. This would make it come back in. Once you have that depth set to where you want it, now there's 3 ways you can do that depth. You can have the arrow sit exactly on the string, to the left or to the right. That's it. I know people that do it all different ways. That's something for you to learn on your own. So once you got that set, the next thing this baby does is pretty cool, is this little part right here flexes. It moves in and out. I'll bring it in there close. All right, and that is pretty cool. Now that spring you can get in different strings. You can get softer, you can get stronger ones. So how much give it gives. Now here's the cool part. You can do it two ways. You can use this baby right here. Some people do that, use an Allen wrench and reel to do it quick, but you can also do it here. And by turning this, I'm compressing the spring, making this stiffer. Or conversely, I can do this, stretch the spring out, and make that softer. So there's your two ways you can do it. You're shooting, oh, wait, oh, I'm over here. So if you're over here, you want this to go in, or neither way to do it is you make this not flex as much. So all you do is how many you ever want? Now this is stiffer and it's going to kick your arrow to the left. Boys and girls, a game changer, the plunger. So trad archers, what about it? If you have a Samick Sage, you can put one of these on it. So if you want to do indoor archery, if you want to do target archery, you have to have one of these. This is a big one. Drill out your bow, put in a die, and put this baby in there. I'm telling you, I did a bear bow for like 4 months now. Once you get this set up, it is really, really cool. All right, boys and girls, that's it. The plunger. Some little thing. It changed archery. All right. So, here's my website right here, 3darchery.net. Don't forget to check it out, where you can find out all types of things from public, private archery ranges, clubs, festivals, competition bodies, and so much more. All at 3darchery.net. All right, boys and girls. The plunger. It's pretty cool. You know, I love archery history, and I love things like this, just the story behind them all. All right, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time with an all-new episode. Trad Archery 101. Now, I don't use this on my wood bow, but one day I might. You never know. And they make really good ear cleaners. Like, oh, I'm Uhura from Star Trek.